Welcome back to the Aviation RC Noob Podcast. You found us. My name is Joe.
And I'm Matt.
We're here to be with you along your journey and to share our experiences in RC aviation. If you have any questions, thoughts, or want to share a flight story, hit us up at aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. Now, buckle in. Let's take off.
All right, welcome back. It's episode 33. We are with the 13th Squadron, Jack and Steve Niezgoda. So we're going to talk to these guys about what they've been doing with Dollar Tree Foam Board, which is some pretty awesome stuff. They have a website and a whole plethora of designs that I want to talk to them about, not only what they've designed, but how they got there, as a continuation of what we've been talking about, which is coming up with something on your own and making it fly. So, Joe, how's your week? How's your past couple weeks been?
Pretty busy, honestly. But that's just going down that same old trail I say every time. But it's been okay. Last 2 weeks have been a little busy. I did manage to get out and fly with my dad, like I talked about. We can talk about that in a little bit. And then not be able to do a whole lot hobby related, but
okay. Well, we'll talk about it in a second. I would like to apologize for being rude. Steve and Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for having us on.
You know, how many times we've done this? 33 times, and I still get a little nervous. I don't know why.
I don't know if we can. You seem pretty rude. We gotta stop this right now. Then.
All right, then I guess we'll stop.
Oh boy,
just kidding.
No, I know. I appreciate it. No, really, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. We're excited to talk to you about what you guys have been, what you guys have, I guess, accomplished in the hobby, which in my mind has been immense in such a short time. Because I remember just kind of cruising around the FT forums, just sort of looking at what's going on. And then I'm like, who's this guy? Holy cow, I've never seen him before. And he's dropping Master Series, aircraft like it's hot. Holy cow. This is awesome. And with that, I just been kind of following what you guys have been up to. And, every once in a while I kind of check out your website and go, oh my gosh, they have so much stuff there. And you have some of my favoritist airplanes. I know that favoritist is not a word, but well, why don't we, so what we normally do is we talk about what we've been doing in the hobby in the past couple of weeks. Why don't we start with you guys? What have you guys been up to?
I think the biggest thing for me the past 2 weeks has just been school. Trying to find a nice balance of school and planes. But we're actually working on a build video right now for a plane that we haven't released plans yet for, which is a Texan.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of, one guy, Jared Rutenberger from working with Hangar RC, we were wasn't sure. We were like, we don't want to stop them from doing anything they're doing, so we're trying to wait for them. So
yeah,
I think we're at the point now where we're all set. So
good, yeah.
We'll probably be releasing that pretty soon. We just want to make sure it's okay with them first before we release it, so we didn't want to hurt them.
Yeah. I mean, we're all part of the same community, right?
Yeah.
So what size is your Texan? Because I just built the Hangar RC's Texan, and I am now fine tuning it to get it to fly like stink. How big is yours? Because theirs is pretty big.
I think mine's at a 45-inch wingspan.
Okay.
Just on like the 1080 kV, 2218.
Mm-hmm.
That size, so.
Yeah, it's roughly, it's a very similar size. It's a very park-sized, as it were.
We actually saw Jared at the Warbirds weekend at Edgewater, and we compared the two. They were right next to each other, so we looked at them. So they're pretty close, same size, same look almost.
Even fly almost the same.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, they're the same craft, right? So
yes.
Obviously you picked a very similar scale because you probably went, hey, I want this to fly on a 10-inch prop or whatever. And he said, okay. And when I'm doing my designs, that's kind of how I said, what prop am I going to work with? And then I work from there, usually, as odd as that is. But so you guys were at the Warbird flying over there.
Yeah.
How was that?
Great.
So this is kind of like the forums in person, like at least like a smaller group instead of Flight Fest. But it's just like great to see everyone in person, all the designs there.
Yeah. So was it a lot of people bringing their own custom designs, or was it a lot of like flight test designs, or stuff that you guys designed, or like other creators?
So it was kind of 50-50. I mean, we were right next to Josh Orchard with all of his beautiful balsa and all the stuff. So it's kind of like we're almost only watching his stuff, but like there's kind of a mix of everything there. So
one of the reasons we went to that weekend show was we built a Helldiver, and that's the one we wanted to make for Joshua Orchard, because we kind of got to know him pretty well through Flight Fest a few years ago, and we ended up being right next to him. And he's just an all around nice guy. He just everybody's so nice and gives his opinion on everything, and always nice. But we got to know him pretty well, and he really liked the Hellcat we built, and he wanted to take that home with him. We're like, nope, sorry, you can't take that. But we knew that.
But we can help you out in a little bit.
Yeah, we always knew that he liked the Helldiver, so we're like, Jack, we got to make the Helldiver for him.
He even asked us before. He's like, can you guys please just make me a Helldiver? I mean, it'd be amazing. Like, we'll have to put in the list and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So
nice,
and make it happen.
So how did that feel? Having somebody who you've seen, he's pulled off some pretty amazing stuff over the years.
Yeah, he's okay.
Okay, so remind, isn't he the one who put together like the what scale Bugatti was it?
Yeah,
I don't remember the scale, but it was about, I think, like 5.5 foot wingspan. Yeah. I think
it was.
Yeah, that was impressive build.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was top quality.
I don't mean to talk over you, but let's be honest. Everything the guy builds, it's perfect. It's amazing. And if you ever see the stuff up close, I don't know if you've seen him at Flight Fest but he'll show you the planes, and he'll show you the way he did the Corsair and how the cockpit opens and all the details that went into it, and how like joystick moves. The throttle moves back and forth when you spin.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. It's amazing. So it's nice to get to know the guy. I mean, he's always helpful. I mean, there's all kinds of people like that at Flight Fest, and
there is.
The Edgewater weekend there, and it's just great to talk to people in general there. So
nice. Yeah, it's he's one of those people that's a great ambassador for the hobby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he's always there to help no matter what.
Awesome.
And he makes some pretty good food too, I gotta be honest with you.
I didn't know that. Nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to next week, Joe. I guess you know what tent we're going to next week. Next week.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, buddy. I still enjoy camping next to Dave.
Oh man, Dave was great. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to leave him without a neighbor next year.
Oh, anyway. Sorry about that, Steve. Go on.
I was didn't want to get off subject here, so I can tell more stories.
I know, right? Yeah, that's true. We could probably talk about this forever. Is there anything else that you did besides the Warbird fly-in? Were there any things you were working on? We always talk about like part of what we've been working on the workbench, as well as what we've been going out to fly. Anything on the workbench you can talk about?
At the time of the event, I actually had the de Havilland Comet and Squadron C460 done. I just didn't want to bring it because they weren't like all painted and everything. So that was on the workbench, even though it was done. But
that was my favorite plane. I asked Jack and begged him to do the DH-88, the Comet.
Oh yeah,
that one is just all out class. I love that plane. It's a beautiful looking plane, and it just flies great, and it's meant to fly fast. So it's not a slow flying plane. You want to make sure it's flying fast.
Was it something like it's going 15 miles an hour on the bench? Just looking at it.
Yeah. It looks fast.
Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, or you want to see what we're talking about, go to 13thsquadron.com, and they have a list of all the planes with beautiful photos. I don't know if you guys take the photos, or if you have somebody who's a great photographer who loves, Jack's pointing to his dad, Steve. Steve, those are great photos.
That's me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They really do justice to the craft you guys put together.
Makes it look a little nicer.
Yeah. Bring up the website and take a look as we talk. Because I'm sure we'll touch on most of those.
I think from memory, there's probably about good 13, 14 planes right there right now, and they all have free plans, and there's going to be more to come.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk about that in a second. Let's, before we get too far down that rabbit hole, because again, we could probably, I think we'll spend at least an hour talking about it. Joe, let's talk about what you've been up to, because you had mentioned you were going to go with your, was it father, to go fly?
Yes. Yeah.
How'd that
So, well, when we last spoke, it was the night of the Ducks maiden flight, which shouldn't have been a maiden, but I took off anyway. Yeah, I have not fixed that yet, but
okay.
I did take my old fogey and went to fly with my dad, and I was correct. The second day the day after I made the Duck was a much worse day to fly.
Okay.
Was I think Hurricane Ida, I think it was passing out west of us at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was quite windy that day, even more so than the previous. And even when I was at work, I was walking around, I was like, it doesn't seem so windy. What in the world? Okay, cool. Dad and I were going to have a great time flying. And got out there, and I took the second transmitter so that we could, I could buddy box with him if he wanted to, but it was windy enough. He said, son, just fly. We're here to have a good time. I'm going to hang with you. And so I did. And I got it balanced right, but it was just, you know how the fogey is and how much drag that wing generates. And Steve, I know we were talking about the old fogey before we hit the record button, and so some things to know about it if you do decide to build one, because that upper wing is just, there's no underside, it's all an under camber. There's a ton of drag that goes on, and so windy as that day was, that top wing was serving more as a kite than anything. So it went nose up, and it was everything I could do to get the nose to come back down. And I flew it around for a while, and then set it down to give my nerves a break. The Fogey's a cheap, easy built, easy throwaway plane if you have to, but even still, my nerves were racked. One, because my old man's standing there, and first time he's gone flying with me, and he's not even flying. But yeah, no, I put it on the ground. We took a few minutes chit chat, and he's like, "Well, get it back in the air, get it back in the air." All right, well, let me reposition the battery because it wasn't flying the way I wanted to. So kind of walking through how that worked. But the second time, still, nose high. So it's just the wind. It is nasty, dirty wind because it's wind close to the ground, or it's crashing off the tops of trees coming into this open area we're at. But the wind was blowing so much, I think he knows that it happens, but these planes fly slower than the balsa planes that he knew when he was much younger. Because he told me some time ago he did actually get a chance to go out and fly a little bit when he was younger. But I don't think he had seen one fly pretty much in place. Because the wind was blowing hard enough that day, the Fogey, I had it throttled back, and it was just hanging out. I was more just flying it side to side. Because the wind was, and at one point the wind got going enough that the plane was actually flying backwards. Weirdest thing when you see it the first time, but that's airspeed versus ground speed.
That's right. So welcome, Joe, to slope soaring.
Right. We don't even have a place to go slope soar, but
on a windy day, bring out the old Fogey, and you got the same thing almost.
That's right. So the end of that ended as I was trying to bring it in again for another landing, or I was trying to swing it around a lamp pole anyway. The wind just got rough on it. I knew I was starting to lose it, and I was awfully close to a lamp pole that I didn't want to just smack directly into. And it was heading for it. So right before it was heading into it, I kind of pulled throttle back, hoping the wind would pull it away enough, but I ended up smacking the tail into the pole, and it ripped it and kind of bent it around and pulled the rudder cable loose. So it's fixable. If I had the hot glue gun out there with me, I'd have hooked it up to the 200-watt inverter I keep in the back of my car now. Dang. That will drive a hot glue gun.
It sure will.
And I'd have gotten it back in the air, but I wrote it off as a good day with my dad.
Nice. Joe, you're making me proud when you say, if I had my glue gun, I just glue and tape, and we'd be back in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the nice things about the foam board planes. Well, good. Awesome. Is there anything else you've been working on or anything on a workbench?
Nah,
No.
Not since last episode, no, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Now, it looks like you've got quite a few things on your list.
I don't know. I got inspired, as usual, through some usually half serious comments, a couple jabs, and a handful of projects I've just been working on.
Was it Jesse again?
Was that? Was
it Jesse again? Do I need to have words with him?
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, so what happens is we end up start our conversations about midnight, and it goes south from there as we pull up Outer Zone and see what kind of wacky planes we can find on there. we had a contest on like who can find the weirdest plane, and he started typing in like random words, and I'm like, no, you're doing it wrong. You need to just type in 2 letters and see what comes up. Put the thing on like show me 100 of them, and then just start scrolling and see what you can find. Anyway, so we were doing some of that, and we found a couple of planes, and one of them was really stupid simple. It's called I call it the flying louver because my idea of a flying washboard is something very different, but they call it a flying washboard, I guess is what the designer called it. Looks like a louvered door if you turn it on its side. Put a motor on it and just let it in the air. And it's tiny. It's like 9 inches by maybe 15 inches. So it's a little like yard flyer. And I was like, this would be perfect for the cul-de-sac, which by the way, there's nothing that's perfect for the cul-de-sac.
Gotta quit doing that.
I know. I really gotta. So I built it and I designed it at one lunch, cut it out that evening and started gluing it together. By the next morning, I had it ready to go. And so I tried to get it going. It was really wobbly, and I was not able to get it full successful flight. It did go airborne, and it did come around, and I had moderate control for a short while, but then I think something shifted weight-wise, and I went downhill. So I haven't repaired the Bandito. I also got inspired to make an right flyer, but using the Easy Power Pack. So those 1020 motors with the little tiny props and the... Yeah. So, yeah, I built one, and I couldn't find the CG. I couldn't get it to fly quite right. It would nose up or it would nose down, but at no point would it just glide all the way across the yard.
I mean, how big of a shift was it? How big of a shift of the CG was it to go from nose up to nose down?
No.
Like,
The balance point was the same, but all of the flights.
It just handled differently each time.
Yeah, and I see. I'm looking at Jack and Steve, and Jack built one, 50-inch, right? And then, did you find something very similar?
Well, it didn't even get off the ground at all, so it's more of like the CG, like from the front view, the CG was so low that like the props were so up high that whenever you try to throttle up, it would just try and nose over.
Right.
So I like throttle up really fast on takeoff, and then it just may have tumbled and rolled and broke. So
yeah, yeah, and it's a delicate structure all around. Like unless you're doing a cable stayed deal where you actually have like threads and sticks basically, because that'll keep it pretty rigid if you do it right. But if you're doing the foam board version like we were, I mean, what do I need that for? The thing's 18 inches and weighs less than 50 grams. I don't need any of that, right? Anyway, so I used half barbecue skewers to do some of the landing struts and some of the pieces there. And that helped actually. It was actually far. I nosed that thing in hard often, and it held up through some of that. So I was pretty impressed. I'm going to keep at it because it seems like there's a lot of people who were kind of go, oh, whoa, cool, you're doing that. Which I'm sure, Jack, you got a lot of people reaching out going, whoa, that's a cool looking plane. How'd it fly, Yeah.
You always tell that if it didn't fly. I think it would have flown as a kite, but whenever you put the power into it, it just nosed right down into it because of the thrust angle of it just nosed it.
Yeah, and I think I noticed something very similar. And I even twisted the motors because, again, this thing's mounted on, little little doohickeys. They're just tiny motors. So I just twisted them down so that they're roughly pointing more towards the CG, figuring if it is a thrust moment that's kind of, turning it into the dirt. It's like, well, maybe this might help. And it didn't help. I mean, there was no magic spot. And I was looking at some other designs that were successful that are pretty much two Bloody Baron wings on top of each other with the flying, I'll call it the flying elevator and the rear box rudder. And yeah, I mean, they're putting the battery way in the front, and I think the CG is right in front of the front edge of the wing. So, well, I don't know. I'll keep playing with it, and maybe I'll have success. I tried the T6 Texan from the Hangar RC, and I got it to fly it, and it flew pretty well. I noticed that I think my wing and elevator surfaces were a little cockeye, so it was doing some weird things in the air, and I may not have enough weight in front. I might be like at the CG point, so it was a bit touchy. I did get it back in one piece, and I will be putting it through the paces again shortly. But I got distracted and inspired.
After you strap maybe a couple ounces on the front of the nose, I presume.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, right? Or a bigger battery or something like that. And then I think last but not least, I was working on a design. I'll call them two secret designs. One is what I found was a flying wing that has like a Zeppelin body on the bottom of it. I don't remember what it's called. And it has the Prandtl D washout on it. And we were looking, and both Jesse and I were looking and going, "Oh my God, that's actually like a 10-degree rotation, man. That's a Prandtl D wing right there."
Okay.
So I've been working at trying to make that foam board version. And then there's another one I've been working at. So Jesse keeps posting pictures of when he goes to the field, and he's got his beautiful soaring sorcerer, and he has yet to fly it. So we haven't seen all the graceful footage that he keeps promising. So after seeing a third picture where he has it in the field and looks beautiful, I'm like, I could probably design that in foam board.
Oh. Because
it's a balsa kit. And so I did, and I've been building it. It's a 92-inch wingspan, so it's 92. That's 9 feet ish.
Yep.
That's a big foam plane.
Yeah.
That is just under 8. Yeah, it's just under 8. Not quite 9.
Oh, well, that's not a big deal. The noise in the background is me moving planes around. Yeah, it's just under 8 feet or just under 9 feet. And so what I was thinking is using the campfire skewers, the 36-inch long.
The big boys?
Yeah, the big boys. And I figured using those as reinforcement instead of something else. And this thing has kind of like a gull wing center section, almost like I call it an A-frame kind of deal. And so I was thinking about like how I need to reinforce that, because during heavy G maneuvers, it's going to crack there, like guaranteed almost. So I decided to take landing gear and basically do a top and bottom of a doubled spar, and that is solid. As a matter of fact, I have more flex in the wings, and I just put 4 pounds on the center today. So basically the halfway point on the wings is where I supported it, and I put 4 pounds in the center to simulate like a 2 or 3G turn. And because it's, I think it's be about 2 pounds when it's done. So 2G turn. And it seemed to hold up okay. There's a little bit of flex, but I think it'll make it.
You know what I need to do?
What's that?
Is teach you how to upload pictures to our website and then actually put them in. Because I don't know if you've been by since I did the duck, but I did a page on the duck where it's just sticking the pictures in. But you'll talk about those things, and then it'd be great if we got them on the website so people can go and see what you're doing, who maybe aren't looking at your YouTube videos.
Okay, well, it's sort of a secret, Joe.
I guess that is true, but after the fact.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then you'll show me after, and we'll do that.
Okay.
Because I've been taking pictures as I go, because I want to make an article or something like that. All right. So that's pretty much it. Pilot training stuff. I scheduled a bunch of things, but the airplane has been doing its annual mechanic review kind of stuff. And the big thing that came in is I have my student pilot license right here in my hand. So
nice.
It came in. I'm officially a student pilot. It's very nice.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Well, the bigger congratulations is when I become a private pilot. That'll be a different animal.
Yeah, baby steps, though.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been scheduling time, so I've got about 3 weeks worth of regularly scheduled times to go out. So when it's done with its upkeep and maintenance scheduled maintenance, I'll be able to go and fly it and continue on that journey. So, and then you'll hear it when I get to it. And then the last thing was the Don Carnage plane. One of the guys on the forum, Horseman 3381, he's created a lot of interesting, I'll call it flight test style in the sense that they're kind of boxy. But he ended up creating, as part of the fantasy challenge, a counterpoint to the Sea Duck. And as you built the Sea Duck, and I've been staring at this triplane, the Don Carnage triplane, forever since I was a kid. Yep. I was like, oh, I need to build that thing. And you gave me a perfect reason. So over the last week or so, I pulled out the plans and I built up the plane and I flew it, or at least tried. Based on what I was seeing from the build, it needs a lot of speed to get going, and it's got a lot of torque because the wings are really short.
And stubby, yeah.
And stubby. So it was an interesting, I tried to take it off, but one of the design notes was get an 11-inch prop. Like get an 11-inch by 5, because the center section is like 9-inch diameter. So there's not a whole lot of prop on the outside of that. Right. It's like an 8-inch center. So he's like, you'll notice a big difference in thrust, and you need it to get this plane up and flying right. And I've noticed that too, even with the, what is that seaplane the Sea Angel, I think, that flight tested. I put in a 10-inch prop and it was hitting the body. I put in an 8-inch prop because I had it, and it was like tip stalling, like every chance I could. And every time it was tip stalling, it was because it was at the threshold of the stall thrust. It was a little bit more, but anytime I had to reduce it, it would tip. So at the 9-inch, which is what they recommend, once I finally got that prop, it flew great.
Funny how that works.
So
okay.
Yeah, with any luck, you'll hear success with that. Same with you'll hear me gushing about the T6 Texan, as well as I've got once these other ones are kind of tested. I know one of the things I've been looking at, and we'll talk about it, is the P-61 Black Widow is one of my favorite planes. And Jack, when you posted that, I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. And I've printed out the plans, and I'm going to start on that build very shortly in the next week, I think.
That one's a fun one because it's basically actually pretty simple all around. It's just the booms are just, you have to take your time on those.
Yeah, that was your comment. Like, roll them and then let them sit, and then roll them more and let them sit, and then if they're not quite enough, just roll them a little tighter.
And then leave them overnight.
And then with any luck, you'll be ready to build it. So I did see that, and I appreciate that, because that's a cool thing. That's the tip that the guy who's never built one, like, you need to know. You know, this plane needs this kind of tender loving care, and if you be patient, you'll be rewarded. So
that was one of his first major. Sorry.
No,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
So that was one of his first major master build planes that he really went serious with, and I kind of pushed him on that one too. I know he liked it, but I liked that one a lot too. And I'm like, Jack, you got to make this one. And of course, when he made that, I go, this is my favorite one you've made. And then I kind of say that after every one he makes, but it's like, it just, the P-61 is just a classic plane. I think I liked it when I used to watch Baba Black Sheep back in the day, and they used to have it on there every once in a while, and I was like, oh, that's just a beautiful plane.
Yeah, there's something about it. I mean, some people think it's like weird and ugly looking. I'm like, I don't know. There's something about it that looks sleek and dangerous.
That's what's beautiful about it. It's weird and ugly.
Yeah. I think we run in similar pack. If you notice, almost all the planes, I'm like, ooh, look at that plane. They're the weirdest, oddest.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're my favorites. Nice.
What was that octagon high honeycomb shape
the hexy
wing thing? The hexy?
Yeah. It's like 3 hexagons with little winglets and a big hexagon, like a hexagon on the back for a tail, tilted just so. I never did find that magic spot. I need to get back. I actually pulled it out the other day and I was like, I'm going to toss this. And I'm like, maybe I should just double check the servos work and try it again.
Yeah.
Maybe make it bigger. Anyway, so if you're listening and you attended the build night this past Friday, awesome. I hope you had fun. I know we always do. So if somehow you're Jack or Steve, we're doing a build night at the end of the week, and we basically just get online here in the Discord and one of these video channels, and we just build together and chat and goof off.
Mm-hmm. It could be fun if I built, but Jack builds.
That's okay. But I mean, do you talk aviation? Do you talk
yes,
hobby
I
stuff?
love aviation.
Well, then
that's why I'm in it.
That's it. You be in pleasant company.
Yeah,
because that's pretty much what we do. I mean, some nights I don't build. I just talk about whatever's going on, with this stuff. So, if you guys want to do a themed build night where we pick a plane and we just, pick it out like a month out, and we'll let you know, and then we just get together that night and build a specific plane. Like, for example, something easy and fun and flies well, like the Bloody Wonder or Bloody Baron or something like that. Like, reach out to us, let us know.
You guys being the listeners.
Yeah, the listeners. I'm sorry. Well, you guys too, Steve and Jack,
Steve.
of course. But...
if y'all want to come and build with us, come home.
Yeah.
So you want to build the P-61 for a build night, or?
I would love to,
buddy. I just looked at the pictures of that though. I know. I see what Jack was saying about curl it. That's buddy.
I think it goes to about as tight as the diameter of a penny in the back.
Wow.
For reference, how small it is. So
nice.
I don't even know how you curl it that hard, man. Like
you shave off the foam at the back and keep curling.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, shaving it makes a big difference. I've built now I can't think of the name of the darn plane, but it had a cone at the back, and even the darn Carnage plane does the same thing, because it's basically like a cylinder and a cone, and then the back of the cone where it's coming together at a point, you shave off the foam on the back so that it can curl. Otherwise, you won't have room. Okay, well, let's talk really quick about the nemesis of the Mustang, one of the nemesis of the Mustang, and then we will get into our conversation with Jack and Steve. And I appreciate you guys holding tight with us here. As I understand, you guys actually have some information that you can share with our listeners about some of the maneuvers that the Americans used against the Zeros to beat this incredibly agile and dangerous plane.
Which one do you want to know?
Well, let me go through some of the specs, and then I would like the two you shared with me earlier. Those two methods, which I guess the Axis or the Allies worked at basically taking out the Zeros, because they were a very dangerous plane. There were about 1,000 of these guys built. It's basically the Japanese Mitsubishi A6M0. If you want plans, you can actually download the ones that Jack and Steve have put together, and we'll have a link there. And there's a Balsa one in Outer Zone. If you just look up Zero in Outer Zone, you'll be tripping over them. There's so many of those in there. It's a popular plane. So if you want to know where it got its name, the Zero got its name from, it was a centennial year of the year of the Emperor. So I believe it was the 2600th year of the Emperor, or of the Empire. And so as it was a centennial year, they labeled it the Zero. It was basically a commemorative plane, as it were. And that's what it ended up getting called.
You had said there were about 1,000 of them built. Did you mean 11,000?
Correct.
Okay.
11,000.
Okay.
They would have ran out of them pretty quickly if there was only 1,000 of them.
I know, right? Oh my God. Okay.
That would have made the war a little shorter.
Yeah, right.
Just a little bit.
We did it. It's already done. Nice. It was a 36-foot wingspan and 30 foot in length. It was armed with a handful of 7.7 millimeter Type 97 cannons. They had like 500 rounds. And then there were a couple 20 millimeter cannons, which that's almost 3 times the size. And they had only 60 rounds, but they were obviously more potent. It could carry up to, I believe, 2 130-pound bombs, or maybe, let me just double check. And then they had capacity for like a 500-pound bomb, actually 550, because when you convert kilograms, it's actually 250 kilogram, which is much nicer and rounder, which ends up being 550-pound bomb. Let me just see, because it could carry a number of bombs. I thought I had that right. No, it's 2. It was 230-pound bombs.
Okay. I wonder what the limitation on that was, because if it's 2 130-pounders, that was a total of 260 pounds, but then it could also carry a single 550. So was it a hard point issue?
It may be. I was not able to really tell too much of the difference. Maybe it's because I only went through a couple bits of background information. So it was not, admittedly, I did not have time to get through as extensive a research as I did with the Mustang.
That's fair.
So it goes 200 miles an hour, top speed, which I'm trying to remember what the Mustang top speed was. I could probably pull that up from before, but
before you go ahead.
And its ceiling was 3,300 feet. And its range was actually pretty small in comparison to some of the fighters that we were using. But then again, the missions didn't probably require that they travel a long distance. They just needed to get up into the air and defend. So.
Well, it looks like the P-51 Mustang at some point capped out at 437 miles per hour.
Yeah, when they had the turbocharged, the double turbocharge.
Yeah, really... I'd have to go back through and see, what its speeds were for each of its engines, but
okay. So, one of the things that this plane was excellent at is it was basically almost an acrobatic plane. So it was incredibly agile, and which makes it really hard to pin down. And so it didn't need to necessarily go fast. Again, it was really just trying to get up to intercept and, kind of get up there and get rid of some of the incoming, right?
Right. And if you're if you are that agile, you don't need the speed, because anything coming at you, you just zig to the side and they've flown right past you.
Yeah, more or less. And now, Jack, you guys were talking about some of the maneuvers.
Yes, there's 2 main ones, at least the one I know about. But the big one the Americans use a lot for all the planes is boom and zoom. They'd fly well above the target, or at least where they think the target would be, then dive down on them, shoot them, try and get them in that swoop, fly right back up. The Axis planes would follow them, and they would stall out, and then the Americans would fall down again onto them, shoot them, do the same thing over and over, hoping that at least in every single swoop they would take out the Axis plane.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was, I forgot which pilot it was named after. I don't know if it was Joe Foss or Butch O'Hare, but it was the hatch move where you'd have 2 F-4s flying next to each other, and they'd go back and forth, crisscross each other, back and forth, and that's what they would fly through, and then the Zero would chase them, let one go ahead of them a little bit more, and then till the other one would chase it, and then when they cross over, they'd get in the gun sight and just shoot the guy behind, trailing the other, F-4.
Right, because the Zero had to follow one of them.
Yeah, but I'd hate to be the F-4 that's getting chased, by the Zero, but that was the plan, and they shot plenty of Zeros down like that too. So
yeah.
I wonder what the kill ratio on the Zeros were. Like, were they highly accurate, or were they just scary because they were so nimble?
I don't know that one.
And the only problem with the Zero is like the second it got shot, it was almost basically down. They almost had no armoring or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were incredibly light.
I don't even think they had self-sealing fuel tanks.
Yeah. It was, it was one of those like, oh, we need to get enough planes to be built, done up, and going.
Oh yeah. They were great planes, but
yeah,
we just got the technology out. When the F6 came, they were done. F6 could outfly them. They could go higher ceiling rate, and they'd climb, and they'd think they'd be able to climb up after them, and they would stall out before the F6 would be able to keep climbing. The F6 would just turn around and get them when they're diving down and just shoot them out of the sky again.
F6 still couldn't outturn them or anything like that, but
right,
power of it.
Yeah, and that kind of gets to a testament of, what is it that's going to win a battle, right?
Oh yeah,
agility or outperformance, and in the German theater, it seemed to be it was just whoever has a little bit more power is going to make it, because it was a tight battle. And this was just a different kind of thing altogether, where the Germans were invading and the Americans were assisting in stopping that invasion and kind of reversing it. It seemed like it was almost the opposite in the Pacific theater. I'm sure that there'll be people out there going, no, you're all wrong. You don't know nothing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's probably right. So before I put my foot deeper in my mouth, let's move on to the next topic.
Let's just close that history book right quick.
Close that history book. And hopefully take a look at the Zero. It's an iconic plane. It's an iconic plane for the Japanese forces and for World War II as a whole. It was one of those planes that gave America a run for the money for a while. And again, like all things in the war, whoever gets the next technology jump tends to move it along. But go investigate it on your own, and build one. Pick if you're a foam board builder like myself. 13th Squadron has an amazing one, and you just kind of look around. There's a bunch of different versions of it. If pick a size you like, I'm sure somebody's put together a design. Jack, how big is the one that you guys put together? It looks like it's like a Mighty Mini size, right?
So it runs off of a F-Pack kind of size or a 6-inch prop, but it's a 30-inch wingspan. So
okay, yeah, a little park flyer. So 2204, 2300 kV quad motor, basically. Awesome, cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it is. I remember looking at it earlier and thinking that's about where it's at. Definitely know that that's the wingspan, and that's a power pack that'll get it there. Well, good. All right. So without further ado, let's officially introduce the 13th Squadron. Let's introduce Steve and Jack Niezgoda. Welcome aboard, guys.
Hello.
I'd say thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Now I'm Jack. I'm the designer and builder of 13th Squadron.
And I'm Steve. I'm just the guy that tells him he's doing something wrong, and then he corrects me and tells me it's right later. And then when he's done, I'll just paint it up and make it look nice. That's my job.
Okay. Now, are you guys related, or are you just buddies?
Oh,
Same way.
He's my son.
Okay.
So we're a father and son team.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, good. I mean, I knew that. I just wanted our listeners to understand it before we get too far into this, which is awesome. And honestly, that's part of what I love about this hobby is it's really, it's pretty easy to get others involved. Like Joe, you're getting your dad involved and realizing like, oh no, he's done this before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting him to do a ton of flying.
No.
I'm just hoping maybe periodically I can hand him the other transmitter and let him fly sometimes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yep.
But no,
anyway.
It's great that father and sons, and this is sort of some of what I've seen in flight tests, but also having gone to Flight Fest. Like I saw a lot of parents and children of various age groups, and so seeing you two doing this together, it's good. It's an inspiration.
Nice.
I kind of learned it from my dad. My dad, he was flying RC planes since he was a little kid, and he ended up being an engineer at NASA. He's basically a rocket scientist, and he was sending stuff up in the space shuttle. And then he got me interested in airplanes as a little kid myself. So I never, I think I told you before, but I don't really fly. But I've always loved aeronautics and airplanes because of my dad. And now I've always gone to air shows and stuff. And then when Jack started getting older, he's gotten really into it more than I thought he ever would, obviously, because amazing stuff with it. But it's nice to have a whole father-son thing, going on with him too with aeronautics. So it's kind of passed on through the generations. And my dad still checks out what Jack's doing, and he's amazed by it. And my father-in-law also, he loves what Jack's doing. He's always raving about him. So it's just a nice hobby to have, and it's just so fun to, just react with your parents, and it's easy to do. It's just nice bonding to do with your parents and family.
I'll say every generation can like it.
Yeah.
Grandparents, parents, kids. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And that's, I guess that's part of what I'm excited about it. My kids have not shown much interest. But I know it's something that's in their lives, and, it's one of those things. They may come around to it and they may not. I know I'm enjoying it, and with any luck, it'll kind of,
it's funny because I do have another son, and it's funny, but he's not interested in the flying and stuff at all. But he likes it a little bit, but he's not involved as Jack is.
Right. Well, then, I'm as each kid is a very different person. I think.
Oh yeah.
We all kind of realize, we're like, whoa, all the things I figured out with this guy, I can't apply to anybody else. What the heck?
Yeah.
But that's good, because then you've got this bonding, this thing you can do with Jack, and obviously I'm sure you have something very different, Jack, that you're just like, I don't want to do any of that. So you guys go do that. You want to skip rocks? You guys go. Or whatever it is. Okay, so we hear kind of how you guys. So Jack, what got you in the hobby?
It was kind of also my grandpa, who's a part of NASA and everything. It was kind of just like I've always been surrounded by the aviation kind of deal. I mean, he had a real flight. I think it's 5 at his house, and every Christmas or Easter we'd go over there and just kind of, I'd be like, "Oh, can you set up the simulator, Grandpa?" And I was just like, "Sure, yeah," kind of thing. I didn't even think much at the time. It was just kind of like a video game basically for me at that point.
Right.
But then kind of always surrounded by that. Then kind of was just looking at the web and got into RC cars, and then a boat, and then drones. And the drones is kind of where I at the aviation kind of aspect, because I found flight test. Kind of was like, wait, I can plane or foam board or cheap and that kind of thing. So it was just that was probably the biggest stepping stone, I guess.
All of a sudden, the door opens wide, and you go, "Wait, I can do almost anything I can dream up."
Wide open.
So the flight test planes, I assume, then were your first flying experience. Which one was your first of those? What was the first plane you built and flew?
The Nerdnik / Flight Test MiG-3.
Oh, wow! I
never
for a Nerdnik out the gate.
It's sort of. The first maiden was at a park right next to the highway, and I had a 4-cell. It was the setup to go 90 miles an hour.
I know.
But I only had the simulators on my phone that I can really get a good grasp of. So it was and obviously I was shaking so much at the launch, and I took off and immediately turned because of the torque, and then may have almost hit a fence. So
it was pretty funny. We have a video of it just taking off, and it's I got my GoPro set up behind him, and it takes off real quick, and like you said, the torque just turns to the left right away, and he just barely misses this fence, and it flies up over it, and then he just tries to get a really hard time to get it stable again. Then he just gets it to fly down slow, and it just barely bumped its nose into the fence, and he just looked at me. He's all disappointed. He was but it was fine after that. We got it flying back up again.
Dude, there is no need to be disappointed about that. If that was your first airplane, really, and you had simulator aside, because hey, I kind of walked into this whole situation with simulator experience, thinking that was going to be, enough, and it wasn't. So the simple fact you took a plane off, flew it, crazy though it may have been, but got it back on the ground in one piece with no damage other than it tapped the fence. You're good, bud.
After that, I put a 3-cell in it instead of a 4-cell, and then flew it.
Making it a little easier for you.
Now, I do have to say, he did fly he had a little foamy Mustang. I don't know, what was it?
It was the Park Zone X Mustang.
Oh yeah, the little guys.
That's one of the first ones he flew on.
At that one, I didn't know what ailerons were. So I tried to, I was thinking that the rudder was still on the right side, or mode 2 or whatever, but then I may have tried to take it off and immediately just barreled over straight into the ground, broke the motor shaft.
Yep.
And what? Why you spend this much money? You can't fly it. So.
Oh, no.
But I thought I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I thought we had this. Dang. That's all right.
Who knew it was 4-channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the other channel does. Nice. Okay, so you guys were talking about being able to go up to
Edgewater.
up to Edgewater Park. Where did that? So that must mean either you took a special trip or you're pretty close. Where do you guys live, or what area of the country?
Yeah, we're from Cleveland, Ohio, but we're probably about an hour and a half ish away from Edgewater. So.
Okay. Nice.
That's nice.
It's a nice place to go and fly whenever you need to. If you got some time to go, you spend a day out there and fly, and it's close and it's a beautiful place to fly. So.
Yeah. Joe, what was it? 10 hours?
I mean, yeah, and well, I guess we were right down the street from Edgewater. You said,
yeah, it's right next to where Flight Fest is held.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can't.
Let's just
sadly,
go
we
up
can't
there
just
for
drop in.
a day of flying.
You can camp there.
Yeah, I know we will at some point. I think I need to get my boys on board before I can really make an event of it. I think.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. Well, cool. Okay, so we learned about you guys. Steve, you are the one who. So what do? You said you don't fly. You just sort of put it together. What is it? Do you just build them?
No, I don't build them. I just I'm a person that Jack looks at for an opinion every once in a while. He'll start building, and I go, that doesn't look right, and he'll say, "Shut up, Dad." But then maybe he'll come back and look at you and say, "No, maybe you're right." And then, but I mean, I'm basically I'm a graphic artist, and I really pay attention to detail, and I've always liked scale. I always told my dad to build like a scale plane, and I'll paint it up for him, make it look really nice, but he never did. So, but now I've got Jack building all these planes. I'm like, great, I can like put some scale detail into them as well. So I always like the painting part and the looks of what the plane looks like. So I've always liked that part of it. And I mean, I like all kinds of airplane stuff. I mean, I like photography. I like the photography of it. I like a whole bunch of stuff. I just always liked airplanes since I was a kid. I just can't fly them. So,
Right.
And I do enjoy watching Jack do the building. So I kind of know how to do the building, but I don't really build.
You haven't done it. Okay, so do you help Jack make the plans then, or is it just making the final product look really awesome?
He draws them up.
Okay.
I'll be on. Okay, for the first plane he did for Flight Fest, the first one we ever did there was a Stuka. Mm-hmm. That was back in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I did draw those plans up, and
but it was more of me telling him what to do, and
yeah,
me being frustrated that I didn't do it the exact way I want, but it worked.
Go over. No, a little bit further. Yeah. No, that's not right.
So
all right, you know what? From now on, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. So it kind of generated more over to Jack after that plane. So I mean, if he wants to he can tell the story.
I actually watched Nerd Nick's, I believe it was like 5 or 6 part series on how to design foam board airplanes. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of gave me a good basis for Adobe Illustrator as itself and just how to go about designing the planes and all the pieces and stuff. So being an artist, I work with Adobe Illustrator all the time, so I know how to use that program. And then so I showed Jack a few things here and there, and then of course kids these days, they all go on the internet and find out all the tips and tricks and stuff, which I could teach him too. So if he did have any problems, I'd help him out with a few things here and there. But within a week or two, he was already building and designing his own plans. So I was happy with that, because that takes a lot of time, and to have him just go there and do it on his own was great. It took a lot of time off my hand, and with him being home sometimes and I was at work, that saved me a lot of time from working on that. So he started doing it on his own, and he's been doing it ever since.
Yeah, very good. So Jack, I guess that means that you start with a plan, or you start with a plane. What causes you to select a plane that you want to make?
I'd say after about.
I guess that's the beginning, right?
So yeah, I'd say after about a month of trying to figure out. Well, this is like as I'm designing another plane. Like I'll be figuring out for a month which one I should do next, and then deciding that one wasn't the right one, then go back and see. But I mean, I more look for like right now. It's at least in the beginning, it was more planes I just really wanted to do at first, like the P-47 and the C-47, just because they're so. I mean, at that time it was all curves and it was just new. But I kind of tend to favor the planes that are like not known but still very well known. Like the P-61, it's very well known, but it's like not seen. They usually more think of a P-38 first when I think of twin boom kind of thing. So
yeah, there are not many RC models of that plane. Like looking around, commercially available. Like if you want to go get a P-61, good luck finding it. Yeah, I haven't seen one on E-Flight or power. I'm blanking on all the names of the different hobby companies, but you know, I haven't seen too many.
There's not many.
Yeah,
that's the basis of where I get my inspiration for each plane from. But I mean, like my grandpa, he really loves the F-35 and telling me all these facts about it and stuff like that. So I'm really trying to push this F-35 once I get one of my next planes done, because nobody wants to see it. So.
You said an F-35?
Should have a 70 millimeter with a 6 cell. So.
Okay, yeah. When you get that wrapped up or finished up, certainly we'll be keeping an eye out for it.
I'm gonna try and make that one like the most scale I've ever done ever. Should have a cockpit, afterburner, all the little paint details, but that's not my problem. That's my dad's job. So.
Have you considered putting LEDs in the cockpit?
Yes, I just don't know how to do those. I'll try and figure it out. So.
Right. Yeah, I've been kind of trying to figure some of that stuff out myself. I was hoping you guys have some tips.
Go on the forums, you'll find them somewhere.
I know there is, and there's a bunch of people who like apparently they live, eat, breathe, and sleep LEDs. They just know. They just inherently go, "Oh, you just do this." I'm like, that's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
You know. So how often? So how long is your build process? Like you start with an idea, and you start, I guess, putting it in Illustrator. And what do you start with?
Yeah, so I usually start with a 3 view from like the web, just like a standard front, side, and top view, which then you have all the angles of the planes that you really generally need. I'd try to look for one that has formers on it or like cross sections, but you don't need those for some of them, but it just depends on the plane. And then from there, I'll just put in the Illustrator file, and then the easiest way to make the Master Series style is kind of make like a connect the dots kind of image. Like you'll take horizontal lines across the fuselage and like see where you want the seams to be. And then from there, it's like just adjusting those lines. Usually I draw a center line first down the middle of the plane. So that way there's like equal space on both sides of the line.
Okay.
And then from there,
so that's like looking at the cross section, there's a center line.
Yeah.
And then you have a longitudinal line going from the nose to tail. And you slice that at what common breakpoints in the curves, or?
I think for mine it's just like the tops of the fuselage, like the side of the fuselage.
Okay.
So it's basically just like from these lines you'll get the height and width of all the formers. And you can add as many lines as you want to like see how many seams you want, or just how frustrating it'll be making all the pieces in the end, really. But
I got you.
The less seams, the better
for starting out, I'd say. But
you want to pay attention to how many, like the characteristics and the silhouette of what the plane's going to look like when it's flying by. So you can put as many seams in there as you want, but the less you can do, the better. And plus, it's an easier build if you do less seams.
Yeah. Okay. So you cut the formers along the length of the fuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you make those after you've kind of figured out how many facets you want to put on that thing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, before you say any more, those formers are going to be put on a box frame in the middle.
Okay, so
you have those.
I was wondering
the place to put those formers.
I was wondering if you make like a little plus in the center, and you literally make like a plus that goes the length, and then you put the formers on that plus, or do you do a box? And I was wondering, obviously you do a box.
I'll say later in my builds, or recent ones, I've done more of like a T kind of style, just to get like basically just an I-beam, just without the top part of the eye, I guess. So it's a T. But I mean, unfortunately, the seam lines is almost just basically the start of the build, because like the seams just kind of let you know like where it's going to line up on the plane. But then if you have the wings, it's like, do you want to have the seam go on the wings? It might make it a little more difficult doing that, because I usually like the Betty Bomber has one piece stretching from the front of the wing all the way to the back and even more, so that way you don't have to like add the complex curves going around the wing. So.
Okay, right.
Something to think about too is when you're building or designing it, usually the front end section from the front nose to past the canopy or something, usually you have a box frame in there. And then past that, a lot of people I see on the forums, they keep building the box frame way back to the tail section. You want to try to avoid that if you can. You want to keep as much weight off the back section as you can. It doesn't take, you don't need much strength past, the wing. If you can build like a tube of some sort to go back, that takes a lot of weight off the back end. And so that helps out a lot.
Okay. So I see. So what you're saying is build the tube up to basically the tall point of the wing, the box core, and then from that point forward, you either just, I guess, let the skin and the formers just sort of create the rest of the plane and keep it really lightweight, or you put just a literally a profile to just kind of keep it aligned and keep it distanced from itself before you put the skin on, but it's much lighter because you're not doing 4 sheets of foam. You got just the one, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So one of the build videos coming up is the AT6 Tex in there, and you'll see in the video he's got like a T section in the back, and so you kind of build the whole back section off of that T section, and so it doesn't have much weight, and it kind of just forms around that T section and the formers around it, and it's going to slide into it, because for repeatability reasons, you can't keep building that box frame back there and then trying to build the skins going around it, because all those skins have to match up perfectly if you do a box frame. This way, if you build it separately in the back, you can just slide it in the back, and you won't have to worry about repeatability. It'll repeat easily. It'll look great, and you won't have to worry about things not repeating correctly if you do a formers in the back. It's really kind of hard to explain on a video here or on audio.
I know, yeah. Well, I see what you're saying is you just, by having that alignment piece, basically, it allows anybody to take what you've done and reproduce, as well as you just, I need another one, so let me just quick build it. It allows you to not have to worry so much about keeping the rotation on your formers correct. They don't have to perfectly align, because that core T or the box is what's keeping them aligned already. And it makes it simple and easy.
Yes. So then the nice thing about that is once you're done with actually making the back skin piece, you can just go ahead and chop off that T, and as long as your molded piece is right, make sure that's right first. You can just chop off that T, and it'll save even more weight in the back. So.
Oh, nice. Mostly, you guys were talking about having the former and the box, having the strong core only up to basically where the CG is ish, and then always keeping it to we'll call it a bare minimum on the back half.
I mean,
which is go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the box goes a little bit further back, like maybe to the back of the wing, but not past the center of gravity. But once you get past there, you want to kind of stop building the box there. And you kind of make it as light as you can from the back section on.
Right, having it be either a profile or a T to just...
Yeah, or even nothing.
Yeah.
I was saying, while we took the break there, I was telling Jack, I said the Betty Bomber that we made, that thing has no support in the back there. All it is formers holding that on and just glue.
So what size is the Betty Bomber? What kind of wingspan?
55-inch wingspan.
Okay, so it's like a 10-inch prop size
6-inch prop size.
Yeah, but there's how many props are on that? There's
just 2 of them. So
okay,
2 little F-pack motors. So
okay, but I mean I mean if it was a single motor, I'd probably be trying to run it on an 8-inch or a 10-inch prop. But
You can put it on there if you want.
Yeah. Well, cool. Okay, so now you've got a former, right? But I know when I've designed a couple planes that are, I'll call it Master Series style, with the box core and the formers, and then kind of wrapping the skin around it. The tricky part, and I always do it like try to get it designed ahead of time, so I just cut once and form it, and if I did it right, it's perfect. But that's really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your process of going from I'll call it the stick or skeleton of the plane where you have the box and the formers. But you can't measure the formers to be the full diameter of the plane, right? Because they can't go all the way out. Yeah, because you have to account for the thickness of the material you're using, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys do?
So if you're using foam board like us, we go about 0.5 centimeter or 5 millimeters in from the fuselage, or like inward, just to account for the foam board.
Okay.
And then if you have the skeleton structure, the way I do it is I take 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter by about 20 inch, or like just something like a long strip of foam board. And then what I'll do is I'll wrap it around the former, so that way it accounts for the foam skin that's going to be on the outside.
Okay.
And then from there, what you can do is you can take a piece of paper. I usually go for a little bit of a thicker paper, not like just a loose leaf kind of style, but that way it's also more rigid to kind of act like foam board.
Okay.
And then from there, you can take a flashlight, shine on where the meets up with the former, and then wherever you want the seam to be, you can take a pencil and then mark it. So.
Oh. Okay, so you basically build the skin with a thin material, but accounting for the thickness of the finished skin material, and then
that's correct.
And then using the shadow technique, I'll call it a shadow technique. You can trademark that later. Okay, and with that, basically mark exactly what you need, and that way, when you're done, because it's still paper, you can flatten it easy. And from there, what do you do? Do you take a picture of it and then bring it back into Illustrator?
Usually, well, that's
By the way, Jack just pointed to his dad and was like, "I don't know, he does it."
Yeah, usually Jack he'll make the shape for the former, the skin that goes over top of it,
Mm-hmm.
and you usually only do half of the plane. You don't do the whole plane.
Okay.
He'll do one side of the plane, and then we'll take that and we'll cut it out of the tag board or notebook paper, that's really thicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go in, I'll take it into work, and I'll scan it in, and
Okay.
I'll draw an Illustrator file of that. It's after we make sure that it's correct, though, too. We always take, we'll take that and we'll make it into a full piece and wrap it around, make sure it fits right. And when we find out that it's the right shape, then I'll scan that half guide in on the scanner at work, and then I'll draw it in Illustrator, and then we'll have it, and I'll just flop it over, and we'll have a skin.
Okay.
So that's how the skins are usually made for that.
It's
So
funny.
the nice thing about using the one side, or doing the one side of the piece first instead of folding it or enclosing around both sides of the plane and then doing it or like taking the pencil and lining it up on both sides, is that in case you messed up on both sides, it's going to be like, if you're looking at the top of the plane, the tail's going to be crooked or leaning to the left or right. If you just do the one side, it makes it so it's perfectly straight no matter what.
Yeah, it's going to be perfectly symmetrical, right? And that makes the alignment easy. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And that sounds like a lot of work, and it is, but it's really worth it in the end. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that use that Fusion 360, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of people don't have access to that stuff, so they kind of do it. We don't have it. I think Jack has it on his computer, but I don't know.
I don't even use it, but
it's a great program. But I think a lot of people use that, and I can always tell who uses it, because whenever a plane's being built out of that, everything's like perfect, and everything's all like perfectly done. And I think the way Jack does it, it really gives a really nice feel to it. You can tell it's like, it just has more curves than a Fusion 360 one does. The Fusion 360 just looks like it's made from a computer. It's perfect. Whereas I think the way Jack does it, you can tell there was some character flaws that Fusion 360 doesn't get. You know, and it creates a more realistic looking model than the way the Fusion 360. Because I think the Fusion 360 gives it shortcuts to make it, you know, a certain way to make the computer reads it that way. Whereas the way Jack does it, it's more realistic looking. I think that's my own personal opinion, but you know, that's what I think.
So I've never actually used Fusion 360 for any designs or anything, but I would also say it makes you more versatile. Don't use it just because then you can kind of, like, for me, I don't do any of the I don't even design a cockpit when I make one, depending on the plane.
Right.
Just because I know the cockpits are usually the most iconic features of the whole plane. So I try to do that by hand to make sure it's, like, picture perfect. Even though I don't design it and make it perfect, it's just, like, the visual aspect of making sure it's perfect.
Right.
If you could do that by hand, it's so much easier than using a computer, having it not work well. And it's just, like, just a little easier in the long run.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I'm looking. A lot of your planes, it looks like, because I'm going through and clicking through some of them now that you said that, a lot of your planes, it looks like the cockpits are completely detached. Like they're their own piece that you're putting on afterwards.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Okay. So it's almost like they're paper, but just foam board beveled down a lot. So
yeah.
Well, honestly, if you want to make a canopy, it's easy to take that and use a clear acrylic, you know, thin sheet, and then just make a canopy. And you could do one of, you know, everybody's like, I see the foam board versions, and while I like them, I'm like, I'm thinking, especially with the Black Widow, oh man, that is getting some acrylic. I'll tell you what, because I mean, half of that, the whole point of that plane is a reconnaissance plane, and it has so many windows. It's meant for taking pictures of everything, everywhere, all the time. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to capturing that with, you know, using acrylic, and then kind of maybe taking some of the LEDs. I ended up buying like LEDs with those little fiber optics. Oh yeah. And kind of running a couple of those around and seeing what kind of effect I might be able to get. It'd probably be minimal. Cool. We'll see. We'll see. I hope it turns out cool. But the idea is like have like an internal red lit cockpit sections and stuff like that. So you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
You'll have a removable nose, so you can make different ones if they don't work out.
That's it. That's even better too. Yeah, nice. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so we've got a plane. We've told us roughly how you can actually get a skin that's like perfect or pretty darn perfect. How much back and forth does it take, Jack, to go through that process? I mean, is it like you put the skin on, you drew the line, okay, you're cool now, it'll be perfect? No.
It's basically, I mean, luckily for some, I mean, usually like maybe a good piece is like maybe 2 at the least, go back and forth kind of thing. But I mean, going off the P61, I probably did the back tail boom at least like 6 or 7 times of actually building the piece and like seeing how it fit. Yeah, leaving overnight. So
have you thought about like just at some point you say, you know what, we're just going to pinch the end. We're just going to pinch it.
I think the problem is just because I give plans out, it's like I try to make it as perfect as possible. Yeah. So it's just like I try not to do that, and I don't do that much at all. But
no, your plans are awesome. And as a guy who's made a lot of plans of my own nonsense, or you know, balsa conversions or whatever, I try to follow that same philosophy. Like, no, I want whoever builds it to have it turn out like I put together. And it should be effortless. Like they shouldn't have to go through the fitment and the trimming and the adjustments and the and the alignment issues that I had to go through trying to figure it out. Like, I want you to skip all that, man. I want you to go build this and fly it and have a fun time. So it sounds like you guys have a similar philosophy.
Oh yeah.
Nice. So you said you've looked at Fusion 360. I've never been able to figure out how in the world they go from 3D model to flattened plan in an easy way. Like, I'm just like, how do you even do that?
Like I said, I don't use Fusion 360, so I don't know how they do it either, but I know there's something, I heard some people in the forum say something about use sheet metal something and it flattens it out for you.
Yeah.
So that's one way to, but I don't, you'll have to ask somebody who knows how to use that program. I'm not sure.
Right. No. Okay. So you use Illustrator. Have you considered on a lot of I'll call it the Rage, the Hangar RC, though, Sam over there, he puts together a really great looking, rasterized over on the FT forums. Like they put together really cool, almost like custom paint jobs that you just print them and get them on the plane and you're good to go. And I know they've been playing around with actually printing directly on the foam board now. I know that's kind of common. Have you considered taking Jack's plans, Steve, and then making almost a skin?
Well,
with all the rivets and all the, bomb markings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an artist, so yeah. Let's be honest. I mean, everybody has thought about doing that who's into detailing like that, but nobody has the money to do that. So, I mean, you see John Overstreet doing it there, and I'm like, yeah, like he's doing it, but everybody's thought of doing it. We just don't have the money he has. So he's doing it. It looks great. I mean, it looks incredible.
Well, have you thought about doing it? I mean, because you guys have a lot. I mean, you print them out on 11 by 17s. I know some of rasterized plans are 11 by 17s, and he's got the, I'll call it the visual. He's got the illustration on it. So really, you just have to pull off the paper and put his skin on. And have you considered doing that for some of Jack's planes?
We thought about it, but it's like, I just like to paint, And,
okay.
I mean, it's foam board. It's a great medium to learn how to fly. It's great. It looks cool when you do a master series and that, but how many times do you see at the flying field, the people flying these planes, they get busted up in no time. So I'm like, I like to make them look nice, but I'm not going to go into super detailed. There's some people in the forums that do some incredible stuff, and I'm in awe of it. I mean, like that Tim Lee, he does some incredible stuff on there. I mean, that's amazing.
Joe, he's talking about the Aussie, right? Well, he's the Texan who's now an Aussie who's doing that A10.
Yeah, that A10 is incredible. I don't know if you saw the gun he's doing to that.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I mean, it's just
Why do
incredible.
I feel like he came to one of our build nights?
He came to two of our build nights. He was showing off his gun.
That's right, he did. Okay.
Yeah. The baby powder gun. And oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like,
that is
what?
so cool.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, I love that stuff.
I will buy 6, please.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, I love that stuff, and it's like I like to make it look nice, and after that, like I want to move on.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's a law of diminishing returns at that point, as time spent versus joy of seeing that finished model that looks like perfect. And I mean, how fast is it going to bust, and then how sad are you going to be when it goes?
Exactly. I'm like, you know what? It looks great. It's cool, and I love it. I love when people put that extra effort into it. But I'm like, it's a foam plane, and even if you don't, in a few years, it's going to be in a dry rot state, and fly it, and the wing's going to crack off, and you're like, I put all that time and effort into that, and it's
right.
But I love the detail. I love to make things look cool, so I love that stuff. But there's a level of like how far you want to go with it,
Absolutely.
And luckily for me, I just kind of like the in foam board product.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I know he likes to paint, so I'm just like, sweet, it looks cool. I mean, the foam board, when it's not painted, lets you see all the angles and all the pieces itself. Lets you get a sense for how it's actually built. That's what I like about it. But
right.
Okay. And you say that's an aspect of what you like about it, but you go into Steve's point about the time involved in diminishing returns, and like, you're doing some really good work. I've looked at some of these pictures and they look great. I'm jealous of your skill. But what's keeping you in foam board? Because like the level of building you're doing, you could easily move on to balsa, do some really amazing stuff, and have some great looking planes, especially Steve, with you as the guy that's doing the art and the painting and all. Like, you could have some amazing looking planes, but you're sticking with foam board, or at least you seem to be continuing for now. So what's keeping you tied to foam board?
I think I'm trying to find all that I can get out of foam board, and all that's possible with it. Another thing too is I only have like basically 1 year left until I go to college, and generally will stop for a while, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more just trying to get the cheapest, fastest, and most scale I can get way possible out of all three of those. So,
what's the fastest you've been?
I think.
Can we ask that? Can we answer that?
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
the Zero was pretty quick.
yeah, the Zero was designed for the other guys at RC Roundtable. I did the Betty for them, and I was like, I gotta probably do the Zero because Fitz, the guy who asked for it, also likes the Zero.
Yeah, I
was
remember
like,
him
yeah, I'll
asking.
just
He's
do
like, "You think you could do one of these?" Sorry. Go ahead. How fast? What was the turnaround on that from let's build that to a flying model in the air?
It was probably I'd say about 3 weeks, I'd say. So
Okay.
Now that's fast.
Yeah, that's fast.
Now that's not normal. That's pretty fast.
Okay, so
it was also
what's
during the summer. So I was.
I'm sorry. Say that
the
again, Jack.
P61. The P61. That took a long time. So that was probably a few months. I mean, maybe 2-3 months. So.
Okay.
But that was not.
So
he also wasn't working on it directly. He was working on it like take a week off here. So.
Worked on it like a
So I
hobby.
was saying how the Zero was in the summer, so it was like I had all the time in the world. So
Okay. Nice. So you basically work on it all day, and then your dad would get home and be like, "Okay, take these and let's make these into plans."
Yeah.
Can you scan these when you get
Yeah.
into work tomorrow? Yeah.
I do draw up the plans. Once Jack's done drawing them, like I'll take them in and finalize them, and I kind of like I scan in all the skins and I draw those up in Illustrator.
Okay.
So he does the main drawing of it, and then I'll go finish it up and put out the plans and that kind of stuff. So
so you make it look pretty. So you get the hatch patterns
Yeah.
in and this or that, and then make sure you got the border and all the text and all the labels.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
And then
he'll go over it when I'm done too to make sure it's done right, and he'll add some tweaks that I didn't get to.
Mhm. Okay, that
then
makes.
I'll make the web page online and all the video if I have one, all that kind of stuff, Instagram posts, and
Yeah.
I'm in charge of that stuff, I'd say. But
Nice.
But I take the pictures too. So
Okay. Yeah, you do. And again, beautiful photos. Really, they do a great justice to the excellent work you
Thank
guys
you.
put together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like Joe said, I'm a little every time I'm like I was just getting into the Master Series stuff, and also I see you dropping these amazing builds, and I was like, what is that? Man, you guys are killing. This is great. And it was just one of those things that kept eluding me. And I was sitting there going like, how in the world are they doing this? Is it a tool I'm missing? Is it a process I'm missing? Because there was a lot of ideas I have, like you, Jack. Like I'm just looking around, going, "Ooh, I want to do that plane. Ooh, that plane that looks really good. Ooh, can we do? I've got a flying car sitting over here. I'm gonna tilt this over here. Like it's on its side, but this is the one fuse, and this is the other fuse, and it's the wing is here, and it's a flying car.
You may need to try to pick that up, Matthew. We're not getting a real good look at it.
So that's the side of the car. That's the tail here. And there's a center pod that's right here that sits me. It's kind of in multiple pieces, but
that's pretty neat.
And then this wing basically comes apart. So
That's cool.
And that's care of Joe and his original first design.
I don't know how much credit I can take for that, though.
Yeah, you showed me that actually was far sturdier than I thought it was going to be.
So what he's referencing is way back. When I first got into the hobby, I knocked out the FT Delta as my I'm going to quickly build a plane so I can make Matt happy. I built one of the plans he sent with me, and then I'm going to build my plane, which was originally going to be a 4-sheet wide airfoil. It was going to be 4 sheets folded over into an airfoil. That was going to be the wings. It was going to be a glider of some sort.
120 inches.
Yeah,
Should be
120
easy.
inches is what that was going to cap out at. And anyway, part of the design, I ended up going with three sections, and then originally I was going to have where the 2 outer ones did a square in channel insert so the wings could pull off. So that's where he's now incorporated that into some of his builds. Although I see you did a bit of a squiggle from one wing to the next.
That was specifically, one, it's part of the scale, right? If you look at the car plane, and go to carplane.com or whatever. They have this
That's
squiggle.
how they actually do it.
Yeah, that's how they do it. And it's also, it helps with alignment. And it keeps it from kind of going forward to back. It keeps the alignment front and back correct.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And now keep in mind, their whole wing method is very different than what I've done. I'm not doing a fully scale model where you just press a button and the wings fold around and away or whatever they do.
What? You can't pull that off?
No, I can, but I don't want to spend that kind of time. I think like Steve hit perfectly. It's how much return are you getting for that time spent, And knowing me, I'll get it in the air for 3 seconds and dumb thumb it into the ground and then go, oh, there goes those 20 minutes. So now that you've got a plan, you've got a plane, you've got skins that work, you've got a plan set that you're pretty happy with. Do you take that and then build another one and build a build video or something like that? Or what do you do with it from there? Do you take that original model and do you test it to see if it'll fly before you get those plans started?
Depends on the plane and what happens to it.
So usually we make sure it flies before putting it on the website, or at least like anything like that. But we usually always try to fly it first without paint and then go back and paint it later. Because obviously we got to know if it flies first. So
yeah. Okay,
before
so
you put in all that time.
Right. That is definitely the step that has been the hardest. Like I've got this great model. I'm happy with it, like the car plane. Like it's turning out to look exactly like a car plane, right? I don't know if it'll fly. How do you do your best to make sure that this model will be successful? What are the steps you guys take?
For me, I more just think about every situation or like every possibility that I can. And it's kind of, it works as you build one model, you learn from that, you go to the next model, you learn from that. So it's kind of like you get more experience as you go. But for me, I mean, I think the biggest thing is CG, kind of making sure, trying to figure out where that's placed. Okay. And there's no definite way to do it. I just kind of guess and hope for the best.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, do you use online calculators? Do you just go, and this is close, like it's about third back-ish, we should be fine?
So usually for the Master Series style, for some reason, they're a little more forward than other planes for some reason. So I usually try to favor a little more nose heavy just to be safe. But I mean, the Helldiver, it was too nose heavy, so I was like super scared and like had to fly like that. And like, I usually actually prefer tail heavy than nose heavy, so I almost crashed that one on the Maiden. It was just so wonky, but
okay.
If it makes you feel any better, Matt can tell you I prefer tail heavy. At some point,
right?
I was listening to your podcast the other day, and I was laughing because you're talking about this CG calculator or how you're supposed to estimate the CG, and there's a way you're supposed to do it, and you're supposed to go through the chord here and go over here and do this and do. I'm like laughing. I go. We just kind of hold the plane up and say this seems about right, and then we fly it and we find out, oh, it looks like it's a little tail heavy, and so let's bring it in and we move the battery up a little bit, and then we go, you know what? It flies great right here. That's where the CG is supposed to be. That's how we figure it out, kind of.
So look up Foamy DM and Maidens and watch how awful I am at trying to fly planes. You only have to watch a couple and you can cringe and go, oh. Either I'm choosing planes that are just difficult to fly inherently, but I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of luck. Maybe I just assume I've got my CG in the wrong spot. I don't know. And that's what that's usually where I struggle the most. I've got this model that looks great. I've got plans that are reproducible. I'm ready to bring it to the community, and then the Maiden goes awful. Something goes wrong, and I'm just like, what in the world? So do you? How do you guys recover from such things? Because I imagine that happens on occasion.
And every plane that Jack has flown has flown pretty good.
He's crossing his fingers.
He's got his fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Yeah, we launch it and fingers are crossed. But
we've had some sketchy occasions, I will say that. But let's say the P-47 Maiden was funny. It was super tail heavy. We had the baseball, like not turf or. It was just like the sandy kind of rocks and everything. And it was just tail heavy doing a circle right over it. It was just like at least at a 45-degree angle. And it was just, I landed it luckily right on the grass right as the baseball diamond ended. So I was just like, It was just,
Like, all right.
But yeah, we brought it in and we adjusted the weight and threw it back up again and flew better. And then we still seemed a little tail heavy, so we adjusted it again and flew it up. And then we got, you know what, right there, that's a good spot. And the thing flew great after that.
Yeah. Now,
That's one of the.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering. I said most of the planes you have are existing planes. They're not concept planes or like the Don Carnage plane, which is purely a cartoon. I mean, it's literally based off a cartoon, not off anything there ever was. So, coming up with how is this going to fly is always like that kind of thing is always a pure guess, and I always seem admittedly kind of lean towards those. Do you think that helps?
I was gonna say, just for record, I love those planes too. I mean, it's like people probably think that, oh no, we just like scale stuff. I love seeing people's creative builds. And they're awesome. I love seeing those just as much as I see the scale ones.
Nice.
So
have you guys thought about doing one of those crazy, like, oh my God, who in the world would think this should fly? Let's see if we can make that fly.
I don't know. Have you?
well, I mean, I guess even though it does fly, it is kind of, I'm working on the GB.
Oh yeah.
And it's got a 25-inch wingspan with I think an 8-inch prop. So
yeah, on a 6-inch fuse, 6-inch diameter fuse. You've seen the BG, right? Or sorry, GB.
The GB.
Yeah, because BGs sing
music in your mind.
GBs do the other thing. Joe, do you know which one we're talking about?
No, I'm looking it up now.
Okay, it's a cartoonish looking plane.
It's
one of those old racer planes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
all
all
race here in
yeah.
Cleveland.
Okay, so for anyone who is like me and didn't know, it's one of the. Think about the old plane races, where basically the plane was the motor. It's got these stubby little wings, and like the cockpit sit way back. So that's where the end of the motor was, and coming off the top of the back of the cockpit glass is rolling up into the rudder.
Yeah.
And then you got your stunty little horizontal stabilizer there. So
yeah, honestly, the Comet's not a whole lot different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the GB was basically designed with the least of everything in mind except the engine. So smallest wings,
how do
tail.
we go absolutely nutty fast?
That was the thought behind it. They just said, let's put a huge engine in there, see what happens. And that's what they did.
Just enough wing to get it airborne, just enough horizontal vertical stabilizer to keep it going straight.
Yeah. The Jimmy Doolittle used to fly it here in Cleveland.
He called it the scariest plane he's ever flew. I think saying something, so.
Yeah, I imagine so, right? As a guy who loves to fly fast and dangerous, I imagine words like that coming from him is.
Now that plane that he's building, we've got it built. I'm gonna paint it, and it's one of the rare planes that we're gonna paint before we fly because I think once we launch it, it's gonna crash immediately. But if it doesn't, we'll have it painted. But I want to get pictures of it painted before I fly it. So
nice.
Jack would fly it, not me.
I'd say that's probably the closest I've gone to like not flying or like. I mean, it's a real famous airplane, but it's the closest to not real, same sense. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for example, the Geobat. Have you ever heard of that plane?
No.
It's basically like a flying aerobie. The old frisbee.
The frisbees.
Like, alternative. Because not quite a frisbee. It's like that. It's basically like a big circle like that, and it's got a little cockpit in the front, and then a couple control surfaces in the back, and then like a pusher prop, I think, in the center of the circle. The center's a little offset. And that's pretty much the plane. And it's one of those that doesn't look like it should fly. And everybody's like, no, it actually flies pretty good. Like the yin yang that Terry Dunn put together. That kind of deal. I think Dan drew up for him. Those are the kind of planes where I always look at. I'm like, we need more of those. Like we need to do that.
I always love those at Flight Fest. I love those kind of builds. I'll see those and something really awkward flying. Like, what the heck is it? I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's the spirit I love seeing at Flight Fest, is seeing everybody just build that kind of crazy stuff, and you're just like, wow, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one year the guy built he built a large rubber band model. You know, those old rubber band models.
Yeah.
I don't know what year that was. I think it was 2019. But it was so cool. I love that. It looked cool.
Yeah, those are really awesome. I know that's not what I guess Flight Test really promotes a whole lot of. I suppose Josh Finn, that's his world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously they do have it as part of it, but I don't think a lot of people head that direction. The old stick and tissue and stick build. Those are pretty cool. I definitely always look at those going, those are the kind that foam board was like. You can make one of these really quick with foam board, almost as quick as you can make probably the stick and tissue version. You just have to wait for the tissue to dry out.
So I think one reason I try to stay away from the kind of like fantasy kind of style is just because if you're going off of a real plane and a real drawings of it, it kind of like, at least it challenges me to like design something strong enough or capable enough within a certain parameters. So it's just kind of like a challenge for each build. So
and I think I do the same thing. Mine is like the challenge is, can I really make this fly? Because again, like Joe, you remember, what is it? The Aero car?
The
little beetle looking car with a tail and wing kind of slapped on it.
Yeah, or the motor, like the prop stuck way out the back of it.
Yeah, the very back of it.
Yeah.
That was one of those ones I'm like, I don't think this is going to fly. And it managed to fly. Like I got it flying, and it flew actually really well.
Define fly? Oh, okay. It flew well.
Yeah, it actually did. The second go around, it got pretty well. So, okay. How do you choose the size of plane you want to build? And are there RC components you like to go to? Do you try to follow like the Flight Test motor system go-to because you have them? I mean, tell me more about that.
I usually try to stick with the Flight Test C-Pack and A/F-Pack kind of thing. A-Pack is more for the twin engines and F-Pack is more for the single engine minis. But that gives me about a 10-inch or 9-inch prop for the C-Pack and then a 5 or 6-inch prop for the smaller ones. So it's just kind of like, from there I go and make sure that in the plans that the plane is the right size for the engine clearance of the engine.
Okay.
And it's different for each plane. So
you match the original prop disc to the 5-inch disc of whatever motor or 10-inch, whatever you're choosing?
No. I usually, the real prop is usually a lot bigger. There's a lot more clearance. You don't need as much on a smaller plane.
Okay.
But, because I mean, the GB, if I was going on a 6-inch prop, it would only be about half an inch out of the fuselage, so I had to go with an 8-inch prop. So,
yeah,
it was interesting.
Okay,
I mean,
well, I was always curious because when I size mine, I usually figure out what disc size or what prop I'm looking to use, and I size the 3-view so the prop on the 3-view, the prop disc on the 3-view matches whatever diameter I'm looking for from the prop I'm going to choose for the RC model, and then I work from that. I'm always kind of curious how people choose their scales,
So I guess the two other things to note is, I mean, I try to keep mine in like a general wingspan of like C-Pack is more like 42 to like 50-ish range, and then the A and F-Pack for the minis is like 22 to 30-ish range, and then twin engines is like 45 to 50. So
okay,
more of just making sure it fits in your car. So
yeah, no, that's a way to think about the consumer. Good work.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the other things to note is if you're doing a Master Series style with like an inline engine and not a radial, you have to be careful of the power pod size because it won't be able to come out of the nose unless you account for that. But that one just depends on each design, so it's just something to think about.
Yeah, it is something you gotta think about unless you're willing to like permanently strap on the firewall and glue it on and just leave it there. If you're looking if you're looking to make it swappable, be cognizant of how big the power pod is when you're putting together pretty much your center box, right? Okay, good. That's a really excellent tip. And then I think last but not least, I noticed most of your plans tend to be in like 11 by 17. Is there a particular reason for that? Is it the easiest for you to work with, to set up, to scale up?
It's because at work I usually just do I have 11 by 17 printer, and that's a lot less prints than an 8.5 by an 8.5 by 11.
Heck yeah!
So
Half
that's why I do that. Yeah, but I mean, if I wanted to at work, I could probably print it out full size, but I don't like to go to work and print anything out at that size because that's a lot more expensive, and for my company to do that. And I'm like, okay, so I'll just print it out 11 by 17 because it's easier for me to print that way. But I mean, if on the website, I usually put some like a full size plans out there in 11 by 17 and an A3 version, or possibly an A4 version for the European guys. You know, they all like those sizes.
Yeah.
To make it easier for them to print. But yeah, a lot of people just, or then I'll do a 20 by 30 version as well too sometimes, just because that's the size of foam board, you know.
And I love that, because if I print out full scale or a 20 by 30 size, I can literally just spray adhesive the back, drop it on, and start cutting. Yeah. And I've got it cut out within a couple hours, ready to start building.
I guess I didn't think about it, but we also usually just cut out the pieces of paper first and then tape it to the foam board and then trace it, kind of thing. Just because if we make more than one piece, because I forgot about the whole spray adhesive.
Yeah, no, that's funny, because that's just a different way of going about your plan set, and I'm always interested.
Yeah, I don't know. So you guys do that. It just seems easier for me to just cut them all out first, and then I put little pieces of blue tape all around it, and then I trace it, and then you can get so much more use out of your foam board rather than just those areas where the pieces are, because you can adjust it to where you want it to be. And
have you looked at my plan sets? No. I utilize every inch of foam board sheet I can possibly stuff everything onto. I'm like, look, I've got my 22 by 34 sheet, and then I've got the 20 by 30 inch box, and that's basically so you can align the edges of the foam board. And then I stuff as many darn pieces as I can get, which probably annoys people. But my goal is, because my method is, I spray adhesive, I drop it on top, or I put a couple tape loops. Before I had the spray adhesive, I would tape loop each piece in a couple spots, and then I would lay it all down, and then I just start cutting. And then when I'm done, I don't have much foam left.
Yeah, we save our scraps a lot, and if you're making a small mini plane, you can use all your formers, which aren't going to be seen anywhere. Even if it's a piece of junk foam board, you can use it for the inside your plane, and it doesn't matter. So
right, exactly. Yeah, and ultimately that's kind of what started that easy right flyer. Was I just had a bunch of leftover pieces. I'm like, I think I could do something with this. So, nice. Well, Joe, do you have any further questions for these guys?
I mean, without taking too terribly long, because I know we have a habit of having very long conversations when we're interviewing folks.
Yeah.
But we kind of skipped over some of the earlier questions that you had for these guys.
I did.
Because we kind of got into the design section real quick.
Well, that's worth getting back to them, I guess.
Yeah, but so just kind of going back is a little more get to know you and get to understand you, and as people and as as hobby guys. Like, we know you go to Edgewater periodically, but do you have a place nearby your place that you actually get to fly that's easier to go to than the hour and a half to Edgewater?
We have a 5-minute drive to a park. That's about it. So,
what kind of park are you flying at?
It's like a baseball diamond. There's about 4 baseball fields there, and we choose one of them to fly at. So,
okay,
pretty big field. It's really big. You get a lot of room to fly, and that's where we made and use of all of our planes.
How many light
poles? That was that diamond
you
were referencing earlier.
Yeah. How many light poles have you hit?
None.
Nice.
Yeah, got a better track record than me.
Yeah, I've hit a couple lampposts. I hit one with the arrow at like 80 miles an hour. It's fantastic.
You almost hit my car.
I didn't mean to.
The car's pretty far away from this spot, so you can't. You're pretty bad if you hit the cars here.
Well, my car wasn't exactly close to where we were flying either.
Well, I was bringing around the final leg, and I was making the final turn to come across us, and it just happened to be over the parking lot. And anyway,
So, yeah, you do a ton of building, but is building sort of your primary, or do you get to fly regularly? Like, how often do you get out to fly?
Last time I probably flew was when I was flying the Squadron once it was painted. But it's like I really probably only fly when I'm maidening or flying with paint. I mean, do I like to fly? Yeah, but like I think I get more enjoyment out of seeing the finished product and building it and seeing once it's done and everything. So
yeah.
Okay, so you're definitely more the builder than than you enjoy building more than you enjoy the flying. Not that you don't enjoy the flying.
I think I would probably try to make an acrobatic plane if I want to try and fly something or like really get into it. But I think I could spend maybe 3 or 4 months building a plane super scale and then fly it once and be fine. So
So what happens with those planes that you're flying once and then I'm good, on to the next one? What happens to the old ones?
Yeah, help
Well,
a guy who
those-
can't get rid of his planes. Help me know a better way.
Well, I mean, the original Stuka that I flew once at Flight Fest 2018 or 19, I think, but no, 18. But I mean, it's hanging up above my bed. So
Yeah, we have a rack of these planes upstairs on our 3rd floor. We're just put up top there and just sit up there. Well, we'll take them out to fly every once in a while, but like if we go down to Edgewater, we'll fly them out there too. But and most of the time, we'll just keep them out at home, but take them out every once in a while to fly them. Well, he will. Like again, I don't know if I told you before, but I don't fly, so that's one of my goals. I'd like to possibly in the future learn how to fly.
Well, he can buddy box for you.
Yeah, we've thought about doing that.
Yeah,
So.
it's really helpful. It is really incredibly, like, I think if my kids were doing it the traditional way, I don't think they would have had one experience and how to be it. But now, if they're on the sticks, if there's a buddy box, they're like, oh, okay, cool, let's do it. But if it's by themselves, they're like, oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, we got real flight for Jack for Christmas last year, and I mean I fly a few planes on there, but
it's more of a gift for him, I'd say.
Yeah. But I crash every one of them. Every time I do it, I'm like, I just can't. I got to do it more often, just get my muscle memory and get that going. I just crash it every time. And I hate to see like all the planes you build and put all the time and effort into it, and then just take one up and just boom, just crash. I'm like, okay. So,
that's where the simulators really do help ultimately, because you can crash it a ton and learn. Hopefully, eventually it does click. And I know Joe and I have talked about actually possibly starting up a sim night. Pick a couple weekends a month and just say, hey, we're both getting on the sim. Come join us. We're gonna act like a bunch of idiots in the sim, and it would get all of us just out and simming and practicing flying more often. So the crashes happen less. Which of course means then what do you do with those planes? Apparently, you have given me no hope, Jack. I will continue to retain my racks and racks of planes. There's no solution but to keep them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, continuing with sort of some those earlier questions and just going through them. So, Steve, you said you don't do a ton of flying. Jack's primarily a flyer, but even given that, like, what do you two have a favorite? Maybe it's same or separate memories, but a favorite memory flying together. It could be one of you's got. Each of you have a different favorite memory, but do you have one that's
story you can share with our
out
listeners
together?
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I gotta think about that for a second.
I mean,
Take your time.
as a parent, I just love seeing put his passion into it, and then when you put so much time and effort into a plane, and then all of a sudden you see, he's okay, Dad, let's go. You get excited to go out there, and he's okay. That moment of when you get that plane out and you release it, and you just see it fly, and you see him flying, and it's awesome. So
yeah.
But that's
I imagine
every
there's
time.
some pride
That's
there
a
for
favorite
you.
memory of mine. Every time he builds a new plane and we fly, that's awesome. And then so I just enjoy seeing him put his passion out there, and it's a good thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of pride there for you as a father.
Oh yeah, definitely. And while he's thinking of that, I mean, I remember as a kid with watching my dad fly. I used to love going to the flying field with him. And I mean, I don't know, you'd see him put all the time and effort in those balsa planes. You're like, oh my gosh, and then he goes, puts up and fly, and it's so cool seeing that thing fly. It's the same thing as a kid watching my dad do it. And then, of course, the old days, you're flying those green bean fields or the corn fields, and sure enough, you're out there, picking up your dad's crashed plane in the cornfield, searching for a few hours. Like, okay, let's listen for the servo. Let's stop. Let's listen, and find it. And,
I have operated by servo noise before myself.
I'm sure everybody has that memory with flying with their dad.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think. I think probably one of my favorite memories was maidening the original Stuka for the first time. It's kind of just like the first one, because I probably get the same feeling for all maidens, and dad getting photos, excited to see all the making sure he gets the photos, gets the videos, all that kind of stuff. But I think the first original Stuka was just kind of like the first wait, we did this kind of thing. So it was just like, oh, it was special.
Yeah, it's like, this is something we can do now.
Yeah.
I got this to work.
That's kind of what got it all started, probably, is the Stuka in 2018. That's when his passion he's like, okay, this is cool. I think I can keep moving on this and do it. So
nice. Well, it's definitely paid off. I know for sure. As a community member, looking at what you've been dropping, I've been looking at going like, wow, those are a bunch of planes that need to go on my list. It's awesome. So congratulations on your successes on that. That's been awesome. Do you guys have any aviation aspirations? Do you guys I'm going for my private pilot's license. Do you guys have any? Jack, what are you planning to study in school?
I think I want to try and go mechanical engineering, really kind of favor aerospace kind of deal. And my uncle told me it'd be better to go that, and then go get a job, come back if I need my master's, I can get my master's in aerospace. But I think my ideal dream job would be to work for Lockheed Martin and on the next generation fighter or something like that. Yeah. Because my uncle, he's working on the engines for the next secret fighter, and he can't tell me anything about it. I'm just I would love to know, but so.
Yeah.
How cool is that? You gotta be sitting over there like, that is so cool.
Oh my God. Look, I listen to a podcast, and it's not to just, whatever. It's aerospace engineering podcast. And this guy is in the engineer. He's a, he does, why can't I think of the name of this stuff? It's the carbon fiber, and fiberglass. I can't think of it. Composites. So he works in composites, and he's got all these guys coming in. He had one guy talking about the SR-71 and I can't remember what company it was that was making the monocrystalline fin, and how they actually generate a monocrystalline, and then by monocrystalline, it's metal. And so when metal cools, it creates crystalline bonds, like little grains, intimates, and you can see it when you look at any galvanized something, you'll see the grain boundaries. Well, the whole point is those grain boundaries are weaknesses, and then they basically form it out of a root crystal, and then they form it into one, no boundary is in this fin. So it's the strongest you can possibly get. It helps it be heat tolerant, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, they were talking about I'm like, oh my God, I'm drinking this in like it's like it's some sugar water or something like that. And I imagine when your uncle's telling you about all the things he can't tell you about, you're like, oh, I want to do some of that.
We wanted to try to get him a few beers in him over vacation and talk to him about it, but that never happened.
Yeah. Hoping to coerce him into leaking some fun secrets for you guys to enjoy. Nice. Well, good. What about you, Steve?
I don't really have many myself. I just love aviation, and I've always, every once in a while I'll go up in a plane with somebody, and it's kind of fun for me, and it's good. But I just like the whole aviation community. I like aviation photography. I like people who build planes. I like it all. Just being around planes is fun for me. So
nice, cool. Well, good. Joe, do you have any? I mean, you guys answered all at least the beginnings of all the questions that I've had for you guys since I saw you drop some plans. Joe, do you have any questions that you want to have them see if they can answer for us? And otherwise, we go into the lightning round and finish it up.
I think that's going to be about it for me. You asked a lot of good questions. I was able to throw some in that I wanted. So
yeah, so that's good.
Now that said, given the nature of our lightning round questions, probably going to have the majority of these aimed at Jack.
Yeah, so get ready.
But Steve, keep your ears open because I'll probably call your name before at least one of these.
Okay, nice. All right.
So real quick, what lightning round is we ask you some questions. They're just going to be kind of as soon as you answer, we're asking the next questions, intended to be kind of rapid fire. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Some may throw you off base. Some may be real easy for you. Let's just see what we got. All right.
Sounds good.
Matthew, you want to start us off?
Sure. Jack, sit or stand?
Sit.
Pinch or thumb?
Thumb.
Futaba or the T6 Radio Master stuff?
T6
or even Spectrum.
Spectrum.
Okay, so your Spectrum flyer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. We got to work on how we word that one.
Well, what I was thinking is more traditional set transmitter or like the OpenTX. Like it's got all the options.
Let's put a note on that one though. Revisit that.
Okay. This is already getting out of hand. All right. Micro, park, or giant scale?
Park.
Scout, duck, or goblin?
Scout.
Snow, water, pavement, or tall grass?
Tall grass.
P-38 or P-61?
P-61.
Build or fly?
Build.
Dollar Tree foam board or waterproof foam board?
Waterproof foam board.
Steve, 3-cell or 4-cell?
As for me, I like to see the performance of the 4-cell.
I'd like to have you both answer this, but we'll start with you, Steve. Foam or balsa?
I like foam as of now, but I could see myself going to balsa in the future if I ever fly.
All right. How about you, Jack?
Foam.
Okay. Axis or allies?
Allies.
Allies, come on.
We have a handful of listeners who would answer the other way.
That doesn't mean I don't appreciate those planes.
Right, exactly. No, look, there's some amazing ingenuity that went into both sides of the war.
Oh yeah.
And appreciating it for what that is what I look at.
Mm-hmm. Landing gear or belly land?
Belly land.
Creamy or chunky? That's for both of you.
I like chunky.
Nice.
Can't believe you, Steve.
I know, but only one of you can continue on to the second round. That last answer. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's it. Perfect. So the lightning round is over. All
right. Well, awesome. Well, so at this point, we normally talk about our workbenches for a few minutes, and then we can work on wrapping up and getting out of here. Jack, what's on your workbench right now?
I do not think I can say. So.
Understandable.
Besides the GB.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the GB's, I guess, part of it, I'd say, but so the next one should be pretty special, though.
Okay. Look, I never did ask you. Do you now that you've been building a lot of your stuff on your own? I'll call it much like I do. Do you go back and build some of those simple planes like the old fogey, for example, kind of deal, like where you just go back to the roots?
Not really.
Okay.
I kind of just like to keep going up, I guess, but
He doesn't like to rebuild old plans. I even tried to ask him to build another plane if something that broke. He's like, nah, I don't want to do it. I just want to put my time and effort into building something new. I'm like, but it's a good plane, you know. It's like,
Can we just have it around? Like,
so.
no.
Well, that's kind of the reason we're building the AT6 right now is because we smashed it at Edgewater, at the Warboard weekends, and we're like, you know what, that's a great plane. Let's build another one. And I said, when we do it, we'll do a build video. So. So that's a good thing. We can actually, it's just a great plane, and it's it's a great plane for people to build, and it to have a build video for it too will be awesome. So
Yeah,
that's a benefit.
Is that your first build video?
It'll be the second one after the 0. So
Right. That's right. I did see that. Yeah, I tried my hand at that. It is a lot more involved than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still
That's a
working
great
on it.
flying plane, though. That thing flies so good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I haven't found one person that was disappointed in it when after they got done building it. They were like, "This thing is amazing."
Nice.
Well, I'll be a little selfish with this next question then, because I've got a preference when it comes to planes. But Jack, have you tried building a Spitfire, or is a Spitfire remotely on your radar, or is that just too low key for you? You've already pushed beyond that.
I mean, it's an awesome plane. It's just kind of, I think it's been like overdone, or at least like I think just like every designer has kind of thing. So like, I mean, that's the thing. I try to stay away from those kind of planes just because people have done them. That makes sense. So,
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, the Hawker Hurricane, lesser known, but still really awesome and cool. I would like to do that one at some point. That's more my route. So,
Okay.
Very nice.
That's fair. Okay.
All right. Well, Matt, why don't you tell us what's on your workbench real quick?
No, too much. It's too much.
Nah, I know, right?
Well, I've got the old traditional that keeps showing up on everyone because I keep not coming upstairs to work on stuff. I end up being downstairs when I work on it. So I still have the car plane and the J1000 because they are right here. I have the Dollar Tree foam board Sorcerer that is being finished up, and I'm probably just repairing a bunch of this and that so that I have them available.
All right, I'm gonna be dumb for a minute. What's the Sorcerer?
The Sorcerer is that 96-inch or 92-inch glide plane that Jesse keeps bringing out to the field, not flying.
Oh, right. You were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
I've just not been in Discord a whole lot the last little while.
That's okay. Again, it's more like you'll see he'll post a picture like, "Hey, I went out to the field today," and I'll have these pictures of these like 3 planes, and they're beautiful. They're balsa builds. He's been going hog wild on every estate sale you could find, and when he's going to pick up his plane, they're all like, "No, really, like, what do you want for these other ones?" You know, and he comes home with like 6 planes. You know, he's like, "I don't know what to do with these, but I'll do something," and you know, he's got that one ready. And every time he goes out, there's these pictures of these 2 that he flies, and he's got a video or something. I usually check them out, and always sitting in the background is this beautiful giant winged behemoth that's just sort of hanging out. And I'm like, "Oh, I want to see that fly. Show me that one." And he's like, "Yeah, it's too windy. I'm not really sure." I'm like, "Come on."
You know what? We're going to have to send Jesse a rough edit of this episode. Like, we've been talking to him. We're dragging his business into the show. We need to make sure he's okay.
It's only about the planes he's not flying.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm kidding. I'm kidding around. Honestly, I love Jesse. He and I get together and chat over about the hobby and about what we're flying and building and thinking about and that kind of stuff like that. And so he knows I've been ragging him about this. And I told him, I said, "Well, what if I make a Dollar Tree foam board version? Would you build that and fly that at least? I mean, at least you don't feel bad if you crash it." And he's like, "Yeah, maybe." So, you know.
Okay. Well, switch over to my workbench for a minute. Now I have the Sea Duck and the Fogey that need some repair work. The Fogey needs the tail section kind of reglued. Basically, it just kind of tore one side of the side of the fuselage in the empennage area, so the tail got to wrap around. So I just need to put some glue there, reinforce a little bit, and then put the I don't want to call it a clevis, but it was the push rod connector, basically, where it screws down on it. That the nut came off from the bottom side of that because of all the wrenching, so I need to get that reconnected, and then it'll be ready to go. It probably needs 30 minutes of work,
Hey,
and then it should be good to go.
Jack, do you guys use those, or do you do like just Z-bends?
we just try to do Z-bends.
Okay.
Fair. And actually, when I did the Sea Duck, which is also on the workbench, like I thought Josh Bixler was kind of crazy when he was like, okay, just put your Z-bend down here, and then when you go to hook it up to the server, we're going to roughly measure, and yep, right here's where we're putting this other Z-bend. I thought it was nuts, but it's actually not that bad. You can get it pretty close that way.
Yeah, just go a little long, not a little short.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because if you happen to have Z-bend pliers, you can go in and kind of start a Z-bend to kind of shrink some of that distance that you left in there.
I just use needle nose pliers. I just grab and then I twist enough to get it where I need it.
Nah, that's true too.
It's essentially a Z-bend, but I can get a fatter distance.
Mm-hmm. And then once those two are done, I have got to get back on the 7. Which,
please,
who knows? Next week I may get time. I hadn't even mentioned it to you, Matt. I got tapped for jury duty next week. So,
what are you going to bring all this stuff in to while you wait in the room?
Who knows? My current plan is to have my month work such that whole week I've got open.
Oh,
so
okay.
it might just be that I go in, hey, turns out we don't need you. Okay, well, I plan to have this whole week off anyway. So
nice. All right, cool.
I'll
cross my fingers for
planes. Right?
Nice. All right.
All right. Well, Matt, you got anything else for these guys?
No. As for these guys, no. I want other than to thank you so much for taking your time out tonight and joining us to talk with us about the inner secrets of how you create Master Series planes. I mean, you guys have been killing it ever since I've seen you put anything on the FT forums. Every time I see something, I'm looking at it going, man, I want to build that. So, big hats off to you guys. Steve's going, no, that's all my son. Well, I'll tell you what, Steve, to your credit, the pictures you take, sell it, and make
Thanks.
Jack's work shine. So
yeah,
it's awesome. Good work.
Thanks, you guys, for having us on here. Glad we could share everything we can.
Yeah,
absolutely. Appreciate it.
I got to be honest, guys. I don't think of us as anybody special. I mean, I just think we're just guys that like aviation stuff, and I feel everybody else can do the same thing we do. It's just
we just sort of, I mean, did it for, I don't know if say we did it first because we didn't, but like
it's just you
figured out a system that was working pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're happy that people love our stuff, and I love seeing people build our stuff too. Telling Jack it's really exciting to build a plane, but when you see somebody else build your own plane, it's really cool.
Yeah. I agree with you, Steve.
Better than building it yourself.
Yeah, and we met a few kids at Flight Fest that he showed us a Zero that he made. I'm like that's awesome, and he specialized it, put a like a FPV camera in the front windshield of it, and I thought it was Jack's plane. It looked really good. I thought he's got. I'm like, wait, that's the Zero you built. It was awesome. But just to see somebody take their time out and make the plane that you built, and it's really cool. So I thank the community and for what they do for us. I think it's awesome when they do build our planes too. I love it. So I'm just glad people are liking what we do for them. Just nice community to hang out with, and I just love it.
Absolutely. So where can people go and find your stuff? Where can they go talk to you and reach out? And especially if they're building a plane, how can I ask you any questions? What can they do to get a hold of you?
So you can basically find everything at 13squadron.com. And if you look at there, you can find the YouTube page, the Instagram, the Facebook. But I'd say if you're looking for questions, the quickest way to probably get a good answer is through Facebook. But then there's also like a contact me page in the website, which is like if you need to ask a question, I'll answer it there. And then even if you want to request a plane for me to design, I have a section there. But you should be able to find everything on 13squadron.com. So
awesome.
Now just remember,
fantastic.
Just remember that if you make a request for a plane, that doesn't mean it's going to get built. But, we got a kid getting ready for college soon, so I don't know how much time we have to do that. But we're just trying to think of which planes are the best ones that people want, and trying to figure out which ones is going to be built. And maybe we will build it, maybe we won't. So
Well,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if you're listening, throw them the ideas you would love the top plane you want to see them build. Because if more people suggest a certain plane, I'm sure, Jack, that'll kind of direct you in a direction if you even have time for it. As opposed to hearing nothing and going, I think I'll just do this. If there's a plane everybody wants to see, then
allow me to be the old man in the room and I'm sure follow up with your dad, which is it's fun and it's great, but it is a hobby. Your schooling's got to come first.
Oh yeah.
So I would take my old man tag off now.
It's like I'm trying to get this build video out. I go, Jack, let's do the build video. He's like, I can't. I got homework. I got to do that. I'm like, okay, that takes preference.
Hey,
yep.
You know?
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome.
That's good.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks again for coming on. When Matt reached out to me, like, he was super excited to have you guys on. He was just giddy. So thank you.
I want people to know about you. You know, if they don't already.
We're just normal people like everybody else.
Yeah.
So are Matt and I, man.
Yeah,
we're all doing our thing.
You know,
Just enjoying
we
the
just
hobby.
like to spread the love, I guess.
That's it.
We were super excited to be on here. So
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. That means something.
All right.
But yeah, thanks for coming out and hanging with us and spending your time with us. And guys, the guys and gals who are listening, we appreciate y'all tuning in and listening as always. It means a lot to us that y'all continue to come and listen to us every other week when we release. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can get us at aviationrcnoob@gmail.com, or if you want to reach Matthew, you can get him at Matthew@aviationrcnoob.com, or you can reach me at Joe@aviationrcnoob.com. You can always find us on Facebook, although I don't always get to see those because of how Facebook handles that community tab. I think, Matthew, you tend to get the alerts better than I do.
I do,
that.
but and I've been checking. So if you put something there, I will do my best to see it. But don't be too upset if I don't. I'm just human.
There you go. And yeah, if you haven't and you're interested, feel free to join our Discord. We generally try to include a link to the Discord server in most episodes. If you ever want to and you don't see a link to join the Discord in the episode you're listening to, just go back an episode or two. Every few episodes we're putting them in there. We talked about the build party, so hopefully in one or two more episodes we'll be announcing another build party.
Absolutely, it'll be next episode. We'll announce when our October one is happening.
It'll be the P61 build video.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's
No,
quite all
you're
right.
good.
That's fine with me. I will probably have it cut out and ready to be. Although I don't know if I'll be waiting. That I can wait that long, but yeah, I don't mind. That'd be fine with me. I think that'd be a fun build.
We need more than one night.
No, so here's what I'd suggest to everybody: is they cut out the booms, and they get them curled. It'll take a whole week, apparently. But once you have that ready, the rest should go pretty quick.
Sure.
Jack's like, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much that's about right. All right. Well, guys, thanks again. We really appreciate it. Let's let our listeners move on with their day, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Bye.
Thanks again.
Bye.